Hello, and welcome back to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. I really appreciate you joining me here today. I've been away from the podium for a while, dealing with some health issues. I'm doing the best I can to make sure that we get some content for you nice folks. Here today, we have a Hot Wheels Indy Eagle. Now this car was released approximately 1969, 1970, somewhere in there. And I've always liked these cars. They represented cars from the Grand Prix series and the Indy 500 series, etc. like that. But I always had an affection for these types of cars. Now this particular one here is painted blue, and the decals you would put on yourself. They would come in a packet. But it looks like this is a little bit worn out. So let's restore it. Grab your favorite adult beverage and join in as we restore this Hot Wheels Indy Eagle.
It's time to start the autopsy.
I've already got the post drilled out. Let's go ahead and take the car apart and see what we got here. Be careful as you take it apart. You don't want to mar any of the surfaces that you're dealing with. There are a little bit of space in the back, or there is a little bit of space in the back for you to put a screwdriver or something in there and help you pry the car apart. There we go. Here's the body. Now, like I said, the body's in fairly good shape, but it's a little bit worn out. We got some pits in there. We've got some flea bites, and when I say flea bites, I mean little nips of paint that are out of there. The base is in pretty good shape, but we could definitely polish it up, and those wheels can definitely be replaced. Here's the engine. It's plastic, but we'll go ahead and hit that up with the Molotow chrome pen, and that'll finish that up. Here's the interior. That looks good. We just got to clean it up. A little bit of soap and water and a toothbrush. And here's the windshield. Now, overall, it's in pretty good shape, but the edges are a little bit rough, so we'll get in there with the file and we'll clean that up. Let's go ahead and stick the body in the embalming fluid, or as most people know it as, citrus strip. Give it a good coating because we're going to put a brand new fresh coat of blue on this car. Now, I did have one subscriber comment to me, you do an awful lot of blue cars. Well, blue is my favorite color, but mostly if the cars come with blue paint on there, I'll do my best to go ahead and keep the original color unless I don't care for the color. Now let's go ahead and take the base and put it inside a mixture of lime away and water. There we go. We're going to let that sit approximately 2.5 to 3 minutes. Let's speed this process up so you can see the lime away and water mixture working. Now that mixture is approximately 1-to-1 or 50%. 50% water, 50% lime away. That's been enough time. Now make sure you have your safety gear on too. Wear your latex gloves and also wear some eye protection because you don't want that lime away to get into your eyes because it will definitely burn. It's an acid mixture and it will really wreak havoc on your eyeballs, so make sure you wear your safety gear. That's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and rinse that down and prepare to polish it up. Here I'm using Flitz. Now Flitz is an absolutely great product and I use it on everything. You can use it on the metal, but you can also use it on plastic if you're polishing up a windshield. And just use a little bit. If you use too much, it's not going to really do that much better for you. You can always add a little more, but it's awful hard to take it away once you got it on there. Using a Dremel at low speed, go ahead and polish up your surface with the flitz. Now, if you happen to have anything like opening hoods or doors or anything like that, just please be careful, because if your Dremel grabs a hold of it, it's liable to snap it and snap it open and break your hinge points on your project, so you don't want that to happen. But man, that flitz works absolutely fantastic. I love this product. Also, make sure you don't have a bunch of your other cars laying around, because if the flitz polish gets on your paint job and stuff, it's liable to ruin it. So make sure you got a nice clean desk in order for you to do this procedure. Now, people ask me a lot of time, what is that little nub on the bottom? Well, later on, Mattel came out with these fuel pods that would go on the side of the car. And the reason they came out with this was because they had a thing that would hook up to your track called a supercharger. The way the car is right now, it wouldn't go through. But the pods allow it to go through the supercharger with these foam wheels spinning. And there's today's tip from your Uncle Paulie. Now again, when you're using flitz, go to the Flitz website. You'll get 20% off your product if you type in the code word graveyard when you check out. Now let's go ahead and put some new wheels on this car. I got these wheels from the Redline shop. Check out what John has to offer at the Redline shop for your restoration needs. Now these 4 wheels, 2 mediums in the front and 2 big meats in the back, we're going to go ahead and take these wheels off and replace them with these new wheels from the Redline shop. Take your time, because inevitably you're going to pop a bearing off one of the ends of those axles, and it's going to make you say some curse words. Alright, this is looking good here. And look at that. The last bearing came out, and this is when I said some curse words. But I think we can fix this, so let's move on to fixing the bearing. What I did was I put the bearing back on the back of the car after I got it out of the wheel. Notice how there's no nub there on the end, so that's snapped off. So what I did is I took the bearing and I pulled the axle up and tucked the bearing inside to give me a little bit of room with the axle. Once I did that, I took these fence pliers and I pinched the very, very end of the axle and allowed me to put the bearing back on. Now, sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'll tell you, if you break that bearing, it's not going to be fun. So what I did was, when the bearing was still in the wheel, I took a screw and I screwed it into the end of the bearing. And then I pulled it out with a pair of pliers. Fortunately, I could get it out. Well, I wasn't going to save the wheel, but I definitely could reuse that bearing. So I put it back on like I said, I bent the axle up, and then I squeezed it with the fence pliers. Now, if the axle doesn't stay down where it's supposed to, you can put a little bit of super glue in that little slot and make sure you don't get it on the bearing, and put it in there, let it harden, and it will keep that bearing and the axle down inside the car where it belongs. But it rolls nice and free, and I'll be able to get that wheel on there, and it will look and act just as it was when you got it from the store if you bought it originally. This is looking pretty good, so we got that fixed and taken care of now. Let's go ahead and start putting the tires on the car to complete the wheel swap. Now, even though these wheels look like they snap out, they don't. They're pinched in. And again, you could put a straight axle across the back if you absolutely had to, but these axles are pinched in, and you would definitely have to cut them out. Looking good. Now let's get those brand new wheels on. Now I definitely don't have enough room to put that wheel tool inside there, so I'm going to have to squeeze that on with my thumb. This one here still has enough room I could get the wheel tool in there to press it onto the base. See, I can get that one in, but where I changed out the wheel, there just isn't enough room, so I'm going to have to squeeze that on with my thumb, doing my best to make sure I don't bend the axle. It rolls good, so we definitely saved that one there. And that flitz worked excellent. Make sure you check out the Redline shop, like I said, www.redlineshop.com. Got all kinds of things for your restoration needs. Let's go ahead and move on. Now here's the windshield. The windshield really isn't in that bad a shape, but the very end of it and the edge of it is torn up a little bit just from use. So we're going to take a file and really slow, we're going to smooth the edges down to make sure that it looks good. Now if you happen to need aftermarket windshields, etc., you can get those at Second Chance Redlines or scredlines.com. Make sure you use the code word DGY10 to save 10% off anything you purchase from Second Chance Redlines. There's a link in the description, so check it out. Go ahead and clean that all out from the dust that you just made from the file. And we'll get ready to coat that windshield to make sure it looks good and it's protected. That looks excellent. Now let's get ready to put the coating on. Here we're going to use Pledge Revive. Now some people use Gauzy, some people use this Pledge Revive. I happen to use both. Now the Pledge Revive, if you can find it, it is difficult to find. Normally like in Walmart or something. If you buy it off Amazon, it's going to be incredibly expensive. I found it in Walmart and I picked it up for like $6 or $7. But you can, if you find it, it'll last you a very long time because the bottle's got a lot of fluid in it. Go ahead and dip your windshield in the Pledge Revive. Drip it off as best as you can. And then take the windshield and touch the edges of the windshield to wick away the excess fluid off the plastic. That'll make it look really, really nice. Put it in a container and then cover it up with the other end of the plastic container to keep the dust off the windshield when it dries. This will be ready in approximately a few hours. Let's go ahead and move on. Here we're going to paint the car. Blow any excess dust off there with your airbrush and then get in all the hard to reach places. Up inside the car, up inside the fender wells, etc., etc. Now make sure that you put light coats. That is the secret to doing a great paint job, is light coats of paint. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that little bell to be alerted to any future videos that come out. Like I said, get the inside, get the hard to reach places, and then put a light coat on the entire car. Make sure that when you're spraying, you go over the entire length of the car. Don't just spritz it like you're spraying with a spray can. You need to make nice even coats across the car. Man, I love this Spectre Flame paint. That's looking good. Once we get the first light coats on the car, we're going to let it set for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Now, once you mix up your Redline or your Spectre Flame paint, you've got a work time of about 2 hours, but don't push it that far. Put your nice even coats on there, and then let it set for approximately 10 to 15 minutes, like I said. Then come back in, and you can put some heavier coats if you need to. That's looking really, really sweet. Look at that. And it will shine when it dries if you mix the paint up properly. And the instructions on there are on the inside of the side of the bottle. So follow the instructions and you can't go wrong. All right, it's time to put on the decals. Now I got these decals from Second Chance Redlines. Check out what Vince has to offer at Second Chance Redlines at scredlines.com. Not only do they have the decals for your restoration needs, they've got over 1,400 types of decals for all kinds of cars of your main lines, and they got a lot of decals and a really big selection. Let's go ahead and speed this up. And watch as we apply the decals. So go to scredlines.com to check out what Vince has to offer. Darn thing kept moving on me. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments. If I can answer you and help you with something, like I said, please don't hesitate to ask. I do my best to get to answer all the questions, but I do read every single comment. And, you know, every so often somebody will give me a comment like, you should have left it alone or whatever like that. You know what? These are my cars. And if I want to restore them, I will. And sometimes I do things a little bit different. Like if the car had red enamel paint, opaque, and I decide to paint it red Spectre Flame, I think it'll make it look better. So I do it. I have done paint jobs in the past where I'd spray it all up, look at it, and go, well, I thought it would have looked good, but let's do it again with a different color. And that does happen. There we go. That looks nice. This reminds me of watching the Indy 500 about 68 or 69 when I was a kid. That's looking really, really sweet. This is going to be beautiful. Let's go ahead and move on. We got the decals placed where I wanted them to. And that looks beautiful. Again, check out scredlines.com for your decal needs. They've also got replacement parts for your old Redline Hot Wheels. They've got windshields, they've got hoods, they've got all kinds of things. Now here's the car. We went back in and we clear coated the body after about 20 hours of drying time. Here's the base with those brand new wheels and the repaired bearing. That looks excellent. We got the seat, the interior, we cleaned it up, that looks good. Here's the engine. We painted most of it with the Molotov chrome pen, and we'll touch up a little bit of it when we get it back in the car. But that looks excellent. Here's the windshield we did with the Pledge Revive. That looks excellent. Let's go ahead and put everything together and bring this Redline back to life. And this is what we started with, this Hot Wheels Indy Eagle. I love these cars, and there's a series of these cars too. There's about 3 or 4 of them, and I've done a few restorations on some, and I do plan on doing some more. But what a beautiful car. We took the car apart, we cleaned up the body and polished it, we painted it blue and put some beautiful decals on there from Second Chance Redlines. We used blue Spectre Flame paint, and we put some brand new Redline wheels on there from the Redline shop. Make sure you check out what John has to offer. Once we were done, we put a brand new clear coat on the car. We finished up the car with some Molotov chrome paint on the chrome parts, and the car turned out absolutely beautiful. And I had a fun time restoring this car and bringing it back to its former glory. And this is what we got to. Look how outstanding this car came out. I love the color. You could have done it in red, you could have done it in purple, whatever you choose. I chose blue because that's one of my favorite colors. But again, we took the car apart, we polished it up, we put brand new decals and paint and wheels and all kinds of things, and this is the final result. And as I tell you folks all the time, you can do this too if you follow the videos that I put out. And I do have a bunch of playlists, so check out the playlist. There's plenty of how-tos. There's a playlist on restorations. There's one on resto mods. There's all kinds of playlists there for you to binge watch these videos. And I know you'll have a good time. And like I said, if you happen to have a question, please don't hesitate to ask. These cars and doing this is a lot of fun, and this is definitely my happy place. I love restoring these cars. Thanks for joining me today on Diecast Graveyard. Like I said, I've been out of the loop for a while here with, been sick for about 3 months, and I'm still trying to work things out. But I'll do my best to keep videos coming for you folks to watch. Thank you so much for following Diecast Graveyard, and cheers.